Hey everyone, today we're talking about the top 10 most Googled questions about sun cream. So I got these directly from Google. These are the top 10 most searched questions about sun cream. So let's get stuck in and answer them. I'm Dr. Sapna. I'm a doctor who studied dermatology and I have acne-prone skin, and that makes me the perfect person to talk about it. I'm trying something a bit new here, so give it a thumbs up if you're enjoying this video and write in the comments if you have any other topics we should do a top 10 questions for. Question number 1, how long does sun cream last once it's open? The short answer for this is check the packaging. On every single skincare product, you'll have a little picture of a jar with a number in it. That number is the number of months it's recommended to use that within. Typically for sunscreens, it's about 6 to 12 months. After this, the actual product can degrade, which makes it less effective. Always check the expiration dates on loads of your products if you feel like you've had them for way too long. But actually, if you're using sun cream every day, you should use it up way before the expiry date. For example, the one I've got here is the Ultraviolet Supreme Screen, and this one is used by 12 months. I think I've used this in maybe 3 or 4 months, and there's pretty much nothing left. This is one of my favorites if anyone needs a recommendation. The next question was, do you need sunscreen in the shade? Now, the answer is yes, you do. First of all, how did you get to the shade? You probably had to walk across some sunlight to get in there, so this is actually a super interesting question, and a lot of people have strong feelings about it. Obviously, if you're outside and there is nothing between you and direct sunlight, you're at most at risk. But when you're in the shade, you're not actually in the direct sunlight, so I guess it's a fair question whether or not you can get burned or tanned in that time. Now, what people forget is that UV rays will bend, reflect, and scatter off lots of different surfaces, particularly off glass, particularly off water. And that means that you can actually be affected by UV rays even if you can't directly see it. So for example, even if you're not sitting in the direct sunlight from a window, you're still at risk of UV radiation hitting you. If you imagine that you have a window in a room, but the room is still bright, even when the lights aren't on. And that's because the light rays are bouncing around inside the room to make that room well lit. And just like that, the UV rays do the same thing. Even if you can't see the UV, there is still there. The rule that I always say is, if you can see, there's UV. And what that means is that if you can see inside a room, if you can see inside an area with natural light, there's probably UV rays in that space. In summary, just wear sun cream every day. Question number 3, can you tan through sun cream? Yes, you can. Now, people believe that if you're wearing sun cream, you are completely blocked from these UV rays that cause tanning, that cause melanocyte upregulation and melanin production. In reality, the UV filters can reduce the amount of UV that's reaching you, but you will still get some triggering of that cascade. You can't avoid it entirely if you are outside in the sun. Now, SPF ratings, the sun protection factors, are measured against UVB radiation, but you still can get UVA radiation, and the UV rays that still do penetrate the sunscreen can cause cancers and skin damage. The reality is that we don't tend to apply sunscreen properly. We might not apply enough, it might be patchy distribution, so you will still get rays going through, and that's why you still do need to be careful and avoid too much direct sunlight if you want to protect your skin against hyperpigmentation, skin aging, sun damage, and skin cancers. Now, I don't use these, but I know a lot of people do use all kinds of tanning drops or fake tan, and they can still get that sort of sun-kissed tan glow if that's what you want, but you don't get the UV radiation exposure and the damage that comes with it, so check those out. The next question is, what age can babies wear sun cream? That's a really good question because obviously everyone wants to protect their babies, especially when they're newborns and they've got ultra sensitive skin. Now, generally packaging and most brands will say that their sun creams are not recommended for below 6 months. In reality, there's no clear limit for the youngest age in which you can wear sun cream, but obviously these babies, these newborn skin is so sensitive, so you want to be really careful. What you can do is test a small amount of the sun cream on the baby's skin just to see if it's causing any kind of redness and reaction. Some little babies can get the appearance of these like blocked pores, these milia, and that's because their sebum production hasn't quite regulated as newborns, so sun creams and heavy creams can actually exacerbate that. Regardless, the best thing to do is keep your baby away from direct sunlight for as long as possible. Loose, light clothing in the summer will really help you here. The next question is, how do you get yellow sunscreen stains out of clothes? I've never really had that issue. Is that just me? I don't know. Now I know that some types of UV filters can stain clothing. I've seen it where there are t-shirts that can have this slight little yellow tinge to it, and it particularly happens around the neck because you actually get some of the sun cream coming off with sweat and it rubs against the neckline of your white t-shirt. To avoid that staining, definitely put your sun cream on, let it completely dry down before you put on that white t-shirt, and that will help avoid it coming off onto the clothes. And if you've already got these types of stains, you can use any kind of stain remover like Vanish or anything like that that will help soak off these stains. You can pre-soak them in things like bicarbonate vinegar. Lots of people notice that their white t-shirts glow after that, so yeah, check that out. The next question is, do dogs need sunscreen? Again, I don't know if I would have ever Googled that, but I can appreciate that it's a good question if you've got a dog. So I did a bit of research. Dogs with really light colored or short, not very dense fur can actually be at risk of getting sunburn. And obviously most dogs spend a lot of time outdoors, so there is that risk of getting burnt. Where you might see it is around their neck, around their ears, the places that are most sun exposed. And it turns out you can get SPF specifically for dogs. Most of them seem to come in like a spray format that will make it really, really easy to apply. I imagine that you'd get through quite a lot if you've got a big dog, and you'd probably need it every day as well. So that's just something to think about, but you can get dog specific SPFs. Question number 7, can sunscreens cause cancer? Oh, now this is a juicy one. Lots and lots of people search this. I've had lots and lots of people say this to me as well. So let's get into it. Now, I'll say this very, very clearly. The consensus in the medical community is that sunscreens do not cause cancer. They in fact protect you against skin cancer. That's 100% a fact. Now, people raise a lot of concerns about the chemicals in sunscreen. So let's debunk some of these myths right now. All skincare products, ingredients, sun protection, pretty much everything you use can be considered a chemical. That does not mean that they are automatically dangerous for you. The word chemical is not a bad word. Now, there are lots of different rumors about the ingredients in sunscreens claiming that they can cause cancer, things like oxybenzones and different UV filters. And one of the things that happens year on year is that people sort of skim this research without looking into it and kind of run with the idea. Now, often research looks into lots of different chemicals and ingredients to test the effects on skin, on human bodies, and usually this research is conducted on animals or in labs. But what they do is use very, very high percentages of this ingredient to look into it further. In reality, your sun creams will have such a small amount of that ingredient, and that means that in that small amount, it doesn't cause damage or cancer for your skin. And that means the conclusions we get from these tests on the really, really high percentages is not the same as what happens when you use a small amount in your sun cream. This tiny, tiny amount that's in your sun creams or in your products are actually considered safe. That's like saying if you drank 1,000 coffees in a day, that's a lot of caffeine, your heart might explode and it's toxic for the body. But in reality, you have a couple of cups of coffee a day, well within what your body can handle in terms of its caffeine limit. Just like that, when you use a small amount of these ingredients in your products, you're not causing damage to your skin, you're not causing skin cancer. You hear loads of different things like, oh, if we've been using SPF more in the last few years, why are we still getting skin cancers? And that's because people are living longer, that's because we're still dealing with the historic culture of tanning and lying out in the sun way before sun protection was a common thing. It's only in the last few years that it's become a very, very common practice. And again, there's plenty of people in countries where the sun is really, really strong, countries like Australia, where you do have really high skin cancer rates. So it doesn't really make sense if this SPF was the thing causing cancer. Basically, sun cream SPF protects you from cancer, full stop. The next question is, what happens if you use out-of-date sun cream? I 100% get why these out-of-date expiry date questions are so popular, because I know that people buy some like Nivea sun cream when they go on holiday and then they forget to even think about it until they go on holiday like a year later, and then they notice that it's probably expired or really old, sometimes even smells funky. So yeah, I get why people Google this. In reality, if you use expired sun cream, there are two things that could be going on. One is that it probably won't work as effectively. All the testing that goes into these products are based on SPF ratings of when it's within its expiry date. So outside of that, it's completely unpredictable. Something that you might have bought as an SPF 50 might just be now SPF 1. So it's just not going to work as effectively. The other thing that can happen if your products are really, really old is that they can grow mold and bacteria. Any kind of substance, liquid, anything that's been out in like room temperature or hot environments for long periods of time can be at risk of growing bacteria and mold. And you'll notice that there might be a really old sun cream or something in your house that it smells a bit funky, not what it used to smell like. And that's probably because there's an element of mold and bacteria in it. So just throw it away. Question number 9. How long does sun cream last before reapplying? In reality, this changes for every different product because it depends on the way you apply it, how much you apply, what else you're doing that day. If you're swimming, then it's probably going to come off much more quickly. If you are rubbing your skin or wearing makeup, then it will probably come off more quickly. It's always recommended that you apply it every 2 to 3 hours, especially if you're out in the sun. If you're swimming, you should be reapplying it every hour. Every time you swim and wash your face, you are taking it off and not getting as much protection as you need. The solution to this is to apply a generous amount, reapply it whenever you remember. Try and use different formats of sun creams that might help with the reapplication. Things like SPF spray, while they don't always provide adequate cover, it's much more convenient to top it up, so you might be more likely to use it properly. And the last question, question number 10, is sun cream bad for you? No. Sun cream is not bad for you. Scroll back a few minutes to hear my answer again about sunscreen not causing skin cancer. Sun cream is not bad for you. It will protect you from the harmful effects of UV radiation. That causes cancer, that causes skin aging, that causes hyperpigmentation. There's loads of different things that happen from the cascade of UV rays. So protect your skin with sun cream. What people might find is that certain sun creams don't agree with them. For example, certain sun creams might exacerbate their acne. The reality of this is that actually you just need to do trial and error. And as annoying and frustrating and sometimes expensive as that can be, if you've got skin that's prone to acne like me, it's taken me years to find sun creams that kind of agree with me. And even now, I'm always testing loads of different ones. So sometimes my skin does break out with them. And I just start noticing the patterns of the textures that I like, particularly against skin of color. There are certain types of sunscreens that just don't suit me. So it is all trial and error. None of these are bad for you. There might just be some that you don't agree with. So don't lose faith, just keep looking for the right sun cream. I hope this was fun. I really enjoyed looking at common questions because actually these are questions that I've heard from patients, from friends and family. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. If you have any other questions about sun cream, put them in the comments. And if you have any suggestions for other like top 10s, any topics to look at and talk about, let me know in the comments below. If you're hanging around, check out this recent video where I've gone through lots of different SPF sun creams that I used whilst I lived in Australia. And I'll tell you which ones worked against my dark acne prone skin. Thanks for watching.